My grandmother is demanding I give up one of my babies. I'm about to have twins, and my grandmother wants to take one of the babies from me. Let me explain why this whole idea came to fruition, and guys, you're not going to believe what I tell you about my grandmother and my aunt.
Hello guys, it's very unfortunate that today I'm having to share my story with you. My own grandmother tried to snatch my child away from me and portrayed me as a jerk who could not even take care of my own kids. She's gone too far in trying to take away my baby and has scared me for my life. All this has propelled me to seek therapy, and in the moments I was supposed to be the happiest and take care of myself, I had stress and I had to deal with drama that nobody should have to go through. As a parent, I constantly live in fear that my kids might be taken away from me. I would also like to add a trigger warning, as I'll be talking about my postpartum depression. I'm 25 and I'm married to Darren, whom I met at high school. At first, we were apprehensive and weren't ready for a child, but when I accidentally got knocked up, we decided to embrace parenthood, and I had told my family previously that I was not really ready for a child so that they'd stop nagging me to have children. My grandmother thought I was not fit to have children because of my reluctance to have a kid. She decided that I would give my child to her beloved daughter, my Aunt Lucy. Well, she gave Lucy false hopes that I would give my child to her, and she was desperate as she could not have kids of her own. When my grandmother found out I had twins, she insisted I gave one of my children to her. When she found out I was having one boy and one girl, she said that she wanted my aunt to keep the boy. I desperately tried to avoid them and keep them away from me. The whole idea of having my kids taken away from me caused me immense stress, and I've even had postpartum depression. After my twins were born, my grandmother desperately tried to take my boy away from me. She even offered me a big house in exchange for my child. When nothing worked, she filed a complaint against me, and Child Protective Services came knocking at my door. Thankfully, the officer turned out to be my friend and helped me. I proved my innocence, and now I've finally decided to cut ties with everybody for good, including my mother and my dad. I come from a family that's very close-knit, and everybody knows what's going on in everyone's life. Not that we all want to, but my grandmother is the matriarch of the family. She's been like that since my grandfather and her husband died. She had to struggle a lot with 3 kids since my grandfather passed away. My mom, my aunt, and my uncle were kids back then, and I wasn't even born. My Aunt Lucy was constantly sick as a child and a teenager, so my grandmother is excessively protective of her. Aunt Lucy and my grandmother are really close, but my mom and uncle don't agree with her ideologies and principles. They still respect her and want to keep the family tied together too. The 3 kids are all married and have happy lives. They all owe their lives to my grandmother, who survived and thrived through the tough times. My Aunt Lucy cannot have children owing to her health issues. She and her husband Robert have opted for surrogacy in the past, but have had 2 failed implantations. They quit trying to get pregnant through surrogacy and are now looking for other options. During family dinners at my mother's, a short while after my honeymoon, my grandmother asked me when I was having kids. I told her that we had not really planned anything and that I was still too young for children. We had a huge argument, and my Aunt Lucy said that she envied me for having a choice. Well, I was offended, and I left. We were all bitter for a couple of days, but we all got back to normal eventually. A couple months after the incident, I discovered that I was pregnant. The baby was completely unplanned, but I and Darren were over the moon about it, so I told my mom as soon as I found out. My mom got a little excited and told everyone in the family. Well, my grandmother called me up and bluntly told me that I should give my baby to my Aunt Lucy because I never wanted a child in the first place. I obviously expected congratulations, but her manner of speaking was so shocking and hurtful to me. I told her that I did not want to give my baby to anybody and that we were really happy and ready for a child. After the ultrasound, I called everyone to my house for dinner, including Darren's parents, and we were delighted to tell everybody that we were having twins. Everybody was overjoyed. My grandmother was extremely joyful too. She got up and shouted out loud that now I could definitely give one of my babies to Aunt Lucy. Well, the whole room fell silent. Darren's parents were not pleased, and they looked at me with confused faces. Darren's mother, Lola, took me to the corner and asked me what was that all about and begged me not to give her grandchildren away. I assured her I wasn't going to and explained the situation to her. I was upset over my grandmother's insistence that I give my baby away to my aunt. I clarified to everybody that I was not giving away my baby and told everybody to leave after dinner. My grandmother caused a ruckus and told me I was being unfair. My mom hugged me before she left and told me not to worry. I cried myself to sleep that night. My Aunt Lucy wasn't at the dinner, so she wasn't really aware of the news that I was having twins. She called me the next morning, and whatever she said made me furious. My grandmother had told my aunt that I had agreed to give her my baby. She thanked me and said that she was looking forward to adopting my child. She said that she would not even mind adopting the both of them if I didn't want them. I told her she was not getting my babies and cut the call. Enraged, I called my grandmother to ask her why she did this. She starts arguing again and said that I would not be able to take care of my babies because I did not want them in the first place. She said that I was too immature to handle kids and that I was being selfish for not thinking about my aunt. She said the biggest virtue of a mother is selflessness, and if I did not have that in me, I would not deserve to have kids. I told her that it was none of her business and that she was not allowed to contact me ever again. My grandmother even ordered my mom to come and talk to me about this. My aunt called me crying and begging on the phone to give her one of my kids. Robert called me too, telling me she's sick and that I need to agree so that she gets better. I told Robert that I could not give my baby to a sick woman anyways. I told them that they were asking too much of me. I was frustrated. They kept blowing up my phone and trying to contact Darren too. My mother-in-law was scared that I'd give in to them, and this caused a rift between me and my in-laws. Darren supported me throughout all this, but he was kind of frustrated. The stress that they were causing me was not good for my babies and the pregnancy, so we decided to take a big step and change all our numbers. My mom had also told them to stop for the well-being of the babies, and they complained and compiled as they obviously did not want to harm my children. My sister-in-law, Caitlin, planned a surprise gender reveal for me. Unaware of the whole drama, she called my entire family to the gender reveal. Lola gave Caitlin an earful about the invites, but it was too late to send them all back. They were all acting normal, and we went along with the party. We had to pop 2 balloons to find out the baby's gender. We found out that we were having a boy and a girl. It set my grandmother off, and she shouted that Lucy would keep the boy and she'd finally have a grandson. Everyone was so confused and my jaw dropped. All my friends were there, and the situation was embarrassing and annoying, and I left the party immediately and went home. Everybody else stayed for lunch, though. My husband and I completely cut ties with my whole family, including my mom and dad. It was hard for me to not support during pregnancy from them, but I had to cancel the baby shower I was looking forward to. All my friends knew of the drama now, and I could not have any more drama in my life. I missed an important moment of my life by not having the baby shower, and I really felt bad at the time. So, Lola was mad too. I finally delivered my babies, and my parents came to visit, but we begged them not to tell anybody that we delivered. It was a couple of days apiece until the word got out that I've had twins. I named my boy Tyler, and my girl Faith. My Aunt Lucy visited me with my grandmother and stood outside my house. My grandmother got cold, so I had to take her in. I threatened them that I would call the police. Lucy got down on her knees to beg me to let her take Tyler with her, and I told her I could not and that she should leave. In the process, she got hurt. She banged her head on the table by accident and she fainted at my house. My grandmother starts screaming at me, waking up my babies and making them cry. The whole situation was so hard to handle, and my grandmother forced herself into the nursery and picked up Tyler to hush him. She didn't even look at Faith and just rushed out. I tried to snatch him away, but I was scared I'd hurt Tyler. My husband looked after Faith, who was crying too, and I picked up the phone, called Robert, and begged him to get his wife and my grandmother out of my house. My grandmother would not leave without Tyler, but we somehow managed to take him away from her. I was devastated and completely shattered. The birth of my kids was already too much to handle. We were already having sleepless nights, and I was tired. Handling the twins was not cut out for me, but I tried so hard. My husband helped too, but it was just too difficult. We slept in shifts and somehow managed to make it work. I was dealing with postpartum depression, and my husband encouraged me to see somebody, so we hired a full-time housekeeper and a nanny. The word got out that I was having mental health issues and that we hired a professional help. I don't know how they found out, I really don't. I fought with my mother and accused her of telling them, but she swore up and down it was not her. I still don't know who's telling them, but I swear the day I find out, I'm going to ruin that person's life. Things were starting to get better, and we were recovering and getting the hang of the parenthood. My mom called me and said my grandmother wanted to apologize and just talk to me. Darren said I should give her a chance, and maybe it might reduce the stress it was causing in my life, so I agreed. But I was cautious. I left the babies at my in-laws' house for a short while and went to meet my grandmother. My grandmother spoke softly and politely, and she asked how the kids were, particularly about Tyler. She asked how I was doing and gave me advice on parenthood. She steered the topic and told me that I needed to have a big house to raise a child. I had no clue where the conversation was going, but she kept on repeating the need to have a big house with a big garden. We told her that we could not afford a big house at any time soon, and that the 2 rooms were big enough to raise toddlers. She asked me to come to an agreement with her. So, she proposed that I give my Aunt Tyler in exchange for a bigger house. She showed us the keys and the pictures of the huge house that she would buy for us if we just gave up Tyler. She said that I would lose absolutely nothing, and I still had faith, and I would really just have a big house. She also said I was allowed to meet Tyler and that they'd tell him the truth when he grew up. My grandmother had started speaking complete and utter bull crap at this point. She talked about how I would save money on childcare if I gave one of my babies to my aunt, and she wanted it to be a win-win situation. This old jerk had old ideologies that I did not agree with. Darren and I just completely lost it. We got up and left, and this was the last time I wanted to hear from her. I gave my grandmother so many chances because she was really an inspiring woman. I was wrong about her. She's nothing but a jerk who likes things done her way and would even kill to have things done her way. My aunt was equally guilty of wanting somebody else's baby when they clearly said no. I can't believe my grandmother, who knew me ever since I was a kid, thought I would be shallow enough to agree to give up my child for a large house. We picked up the twins and went home. It was hard on me because my own family was doing this with no regard for my mental health. All my grandmother cared about was her own daughter, and well, my aunt is spoiled too. She has always gotten what she wants, and this time, when she was refused of something, she couldn't take it. I cried the whole night because I decided that I'd never talk to my family again, including my mom and dad, because I just could not trust them anymore. So, the next morning, I woke up to a rather loud knock on my door. I opened it up, and my friend Anisha was standing there with my colleague Noah. They claimed to be from Child Protective Services, and they said that somebody had reported me for not being able to properly take care of my twins. I told him it's bull crap. They said that they were going to have to take my kids while speaking to me and my husband, and they asked us to cooperate to make this all easy. We listened to them. I knew it was my grandmother or Aunt Lucy who must have reported me, but I did not know for sure. So I tell Anisha the whole story, and thankfully she believes me. She still said I have to prove the allegations against me to be wrong, and the report said I was not mentally stable enough to be taking care of the children, and that I could not take care of my children myself without any help of the nanny. It was true that I was seeking mental health, yes. The whole situation was made difficult because my therapist could not speak about postpartum depression due to a non-disclosure protocol. Since Anisha was a good friend of mine, she agreed to help me. She confirmed that it was my grandmother who reported me, and I had all the proof that she was crazy and she kept calling for my child. I showed them the recordings and told them about the mental harassment they've caused me. Anisha and Noah also spoke to a couple of my parents and Darren's parents. The nanny also told them how caring we were. She told them the handling of the twins was really tough, and we were doing a pretty damn good job at it. Anisha said that mental health issues were serious and that they could take my kids away, but she allowed them to stay with us. I was extremely grateful for her help. They said that they would make their reports and they'd let us know pretty soon. A couple days later, the CPS contacted me and told us that our proofs were pretty solid and that the kids were in safe hands. But we still had to be observing by them, just in case. It was all so annoying, but thanks to Anisha's help, we did not get in much of a hassle. A lot of the things in the report were baseless and untrue. Nothing was proven against me, and I don't think that we should have much trouble in the future. The whole thing was extremely exhausting, and I could not embrace motherhood properly for the first few months. The overwhelming feelings of stress were the main triggers for my mental health issues. I was slowly recovering, and I did not have to see a therapist anymore. Faith and Tyler are now 3 months of age. They're growing up to be healthy and happy babies. I still feel bad about constantly being stressed throughout my pregnancy. For the first few months, I'm still not speaking to my parents either. My mom understands, but she really wants to talk. I want to talk to her too, but I can't risk trusting anybody when it comes to my babies. I want to ask you all a question. Am I overreacting by asking my parents to stay away from my children? Am I being too overprotective? I don't want these issues to last forever, but I don't know how to break the ice either. I'm just confused, and I've also got bad dreams about my kids being taken away from me. I hope all my worries eventually fade away. Thank you for reading this, guys, and I hope I get some responses. New mother suggestions are welcome. Kind comments only. Update number 1. Hey guys, it's me again. I'm here with more about my aunt and my grandmother. So remember how my grandmother wanted to give my aunt one of my twins? I've completely cut ties, and after that, they still tried to make attempts to contact us. We try as much as possible to protect our children. A lot of you said that I should let time heal the issue I have with my parents. So, I've decided to give it some time, as you suggested. I'm still pretty unsure about how I'm going to break the ice with them, and I can't just reappear in their lives and be like, hey! Yeah, I miss my mom a lot. The twins are fine, although taking care of 2 is both tough and really expensive. I met Robert at the clinic where I take my kids for their vaccinations. Robert let me in on everything that's going on with Lucy. He said that Lucy was not in good health, because of which it was impossible for them to adopt because they kept getting rejected. Lucy was getting desperate for a child, and she's been determined. My grandmother promised her that she would solve her issue and that I would give away my child so that she can finally have a baby. She was given hope, and then it was taken away from her, which made her mental health go down the hill. He said that he understands me and respects that I do not want to give away my child, but he also cares about his dear wife. Ever since I cut ties with my family, Lucy has been frail. She's not only suffering from depression, she's not physically feeling well either. The doctors said that she might not be able to survive, and my grandmother's trying her best to make her better. Robert knows she's not fit enough to handle a child, however, but my grandmother thinks that's the only way that she's going to feel better. My grandma's trying her best to make her feel better, and it's scaring me a lot because she's scared of losing her. They're both acting crazy. My mom and uncle have been arguing with her over it, but all of them in vain. She's pretty adamant that I should give my aunt my baby boy. I told Robert to take care of my aunt. I cleared him, and I cannot give my child to anybody. She's definitely not a sick woman, so I advised him to seek professional help for my aunt so that she can heal. I prayed that my aunt would get better and eventually their dreams of having a child could come true. My grandmother does not understand that I love my child as much as she loves her daughter. I can't just give away my kid. They're both completely nuts, and I was determined to keep Tyler away from them. I felt bad for Robert, though. My grandmother is the person at fault, and my aunt would still be fine if she did not give her false hope. I'm going to work pretty soon, and I'm both excited and nervous at the same time. What if I can't catch up again? I'm not really happy about leaving my children and going to work, but I have no choice. I also have a lot of trust issues. I'm leaving my child with a nanny, to whom we're accustomed, but she's still a stranger. Being a parent is hard, and Darren says that I worry too much. It'll be okay. He says that we would go to any lengths to protect our children, and I'm just really grateful to Darren for supporting me through this difficult process of pregnancy and understanding me when my family was giving me so much trouble. If my grandmother was not a narcissistic jerk, I'd have a much easier life, but now I have to live in fear of having my kids taken away from me. I still get nightmares about it. My husband says that I should keep going to therapy, but I assure him that it's all okay. The trust issues I have are for life, and sometimes I think that maybe he's right. Tell me what you think. Thanks for reading. Update number 2. Hey guys, this time I have a really major update. It's wild, you will not believe it. In the last update about my aunt and my grandmother, I told you that I'm going to join work again after my maternal leave. It's been tough for me at first, but things really started going smoothly as we came to a routine. With everything going on, Darren and I could not make time for each other, so we decided to go on dates and let my in-laws take care of the twins while we were out. One such night, Lola left the door open, so their dog took a pee. Lucy broke in and sneakily tried to take Tyler away. Luckily, the dog saw her trying to go near Tyler and Faith, and he alerted Lola immediately. And Lola called for help. My father-in-law contacted the police, and they were in deep trouble. Lucy was going to be put in jail for trespassing and attempting to kidnap Tyler. She agreed to take him away. They were going to put her in the psych ward, and we let her off because of her mental condition, but we had a restraining order put against my aunt, Robert, and my grandmother. I told Robert that if we were to drop the charges, well, then he would have to put her in an asylum or something, but do whatever it takes to have her treated. Robert agreed, and they sought professional help. My grandmother was so mad about the situation, but still thought I was a selfish person. Upon seeing this, everybody in our family cut ties with my grandmother. They blamed her for being the reason Aunt Lucy was in such a bad mental condition. They also condemned her for harassing me too. We sought legal help to keep them away from my children, but I wish I would have done some sooner. I don't know what I would have done if Lucy actually managed to run off with Tyler. Lola apologized for being so careless, but honestly, it wasn't really her fault. She still feels guilty about it, and I also found out who was telling my grandmother what was going on in my life. Apparently, it was my neighbor, who turned out to be one of my grandmother's club friends. My neighbor has beef with us because of our late-night parties when we got married. She complained a couple times, but we stopped eventually, and we admit it was our fault, but she did not have to be such a jerk about it. My nanny would talk to her and let her in on what was going on. My nanny is innocent, of course, and she thought my neighbor was just a nice old lady. Of course, I spoke to my nanny too and warned her not to tell anybody what's going on in our house. I just hate gossip. I wanted her to do something petty to take revenge on my neighbor. I ruined her plants while she was on vacation. Not just any plants, she had recently spent money on her garden and brought all kinds of rare, exotic plants to it. I even broke her garden lights and her gnomes, and no, she does not have a camera. She just has an intruder alert, which doesn't really cover her garden. She was mad when she came back home, and she would never find out it was me. I'm finally a little chilled out since I know that things are being taken care of, and my family's scared of the police, so they won't be coming around. I don't think they expected I would ever take legal action against them. I did not expect I would either. I'd do anything for my babies, though. To be really honest, I was panicked, and sometimes I feel that I might have overreacted. Darren assures me that my concerns are valid and that I did the right thing. I think things got a little too far when my aunt tried to kidnap Tyler, though. I'm still pretty traumatized about it. I keep traumatizing other moms, so I figured if I kept updating here, other people would have to hear my constant yapping and my weird stories about my weird grandmother and aunt. Anyways, thanks for reading. Thanks for the comments, I really appreciate it. Final update. Hey everyone, so people are asking, my twins are doing amazing, Faith started crawling early, but Tyler has not been struggling, well, to do so. He's trying though. They grow up so fast, and it really feels good when people I don't know really come out and support. I'd really like to thank you for all the support and making me feel less insecure. As I've mentioned, I've constantly feared that somebody would try to snatch my babies away from me. I contacted my parents, and it was easier than I thought it would be. Honestly, I cried when I saw them and spoke to them after so many months. They were ecstatic upon seeing the twins, and it feels sad that they had to miss major milestones for my twins, but it's all okay now. I really needed them, especially my mother. When I was new to motherhood, having her around makes things a lot easier, and her advice is really helpful. My mom revealed that after taking Lucy for professional help, there was huge drama. My uncle and my mom fought with my grandmother, and they fought over all the mistakes my grandmother ever made. They condemned her for being so harsh on them as kids and favoring Lucy. They said her bias was clear and that she was the reason Lucy was having issues. Now, my uncle and my mom don't talk to my grandmother. She called her children multiple times to apologize, and Robert confronted my grandmother and confirmed that he too feels that the false hope she gave my aunt really made her sick. My aunt went through intense therapy and had to stay in the hospital because she was harming herself. It was a tough time for my grandmother too because she finally realized that it was her fault. My aunt finally recovered and she accepted that she was too unfit to have a child. Robert, and Aunt Lucy decided they would foster a child after Lucy fully recovered. She would still have physical ailments throughout her life, and it turns out that she's showing early signs of Alzheimer's. I do feel bad for the poor thing. My grandmother was moved to an old age home, and she's been there permanently now. My mom and my uncle do plan on taking to her eventually, but for now, they're giving her the silent treatment. There's a lot of things that need healing, but I think things are slowly starting to look up. I really hope Lucy and Robert can foster a child in the future. As for me, I'm still living in slight fear, but my family's happy and my kids are happy, and that's all I want. Again, thanks for reading. The comments have really helped, especially the ones that advised me to go and speak to my parents. It really helped me gather the courage, so thank you.
Sometimes we overlook just how crazy some of the people are in these stories on Mr. Reddito's channel. Today was not an exception to that rule. I mean, we're talking about a grandmother and an aunt who on more than one occasion was trying to come up with some sort of plot, some sort of plan, an idea to steal away a baby from OP specifically. Guys, could you imagine if one of them would have got their hands on Tyler and just ran away with him? Maybe even leaving the state or the country. There's no telling what somebody this, mentally ill can do. If you guys have ever been in a situation similar to this or had a grandmother or an aunt try to pull a similar stunt, let me know about it downstairs in our comment section. My name's Mr. Reddito, and I narrate these sort of stories every day. So if you guys want daily videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.